So Gary, we've had a couple good conversations, especially as of recently. Tell us about the origins and where you're coming from with T-Shirt Help Desk.
All right. First of all, John, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. So T-Shirt Help Desk started tentatively as on a whim back in 2012, 2011. I was just playing around. I was working, as we both know, worked in the industry, and I just did it just because, someone actually said to me one time, man, you do all this graphic stuff, you should teach it. And I was like, this was years ago, and I was like, whatever. And I was so disheartened with working in the industry, so just over it, that I said, let me try this YouTube thing just for the hell of it. And I put up a couple of videos. That was back when there was just 3 people talking about, starting clothing lines and stuff and T-shirts and stuff like that. And it went crazy. You know what I'm saying? The amount of views, the amount of questions. And I was like, wow, okay. And also the real reason why I started it above just being, just kind of done with the industry is that I wanted to be, because I've been doing this since 1989, just trying to do the T-shirt line and all this stuff. I wanted to be the person that I wish I had when I was a teeny bopper coming up wanting to do some clothing. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And so, because so many people don't want to tell you, so many people, they want it to be like a secret. I wanted the people who was pulling people's coat and okay, let me just tell you, this is how you do it. So that's pretty much the origins of T-shirt help. T-shirt help.
That's crazy. Again, with your story, it's so similar to mine because we had discussed this too. I got a little bit of flack from industry cats. Now you're out there on the East Coast, I'm here in LA, so this is great. But yeah, I would get the same thing. Cats would be like, yo, why you spilling all this knowledge on the internet? And it was like a guarded secret. And I'm like, who cares? Yeah. Number one. But number two, I was like, it's only one part of my life too. I'm many other things than just you and I are both many other things than just designers in the industry.
Yeah. And also, man, I think I told you this when we met out in LA. I was working, I had a job. It was a freelance job because, the industry, I know for me in New York City, I can't speak for LA, the industry crashed as everything did in 2008. So after 2008, I was going freelance from job to job to job. It was really crazy. And I had this freelance job. And the supervisor at the time, he kind of sarcastically said, you ever heard of this channel called T-shirt Help Desk? Ha ha ha. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh yeah, that's me. I was fired within a week after that. You know what I'm saying? Everything was cool. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, you know what? We don't need your services. And I was just like, okay, cool.
Wait, but he really didn't know it was you, or he was fishing for you to...
No. He recognized me, right? He recognized me and was like, you ever heard of sarcastically,
okay.
You ever heard of John Phenom? You know what I'm saying? He was being sarcastic with me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh yeah, that's my, my YouTube thing. He was like, oh, cool. He didn't compliment me or anything. It was like, oh, yeah, I got you. I see you. It was kind of like that. And then because I'm thinking I'm doing a great job. Then the next thing you know, oh, your services are no longer needed. Have a great day. But then a week after that.
Wow. Yeah, I have a similar experience. Not exactly like that, but it's same concept where just people feel so threatened. So, I mean, before the YouTube thing, I was known as John Phenom, the handmade denim guy. And I remember someone at Complex Magazine had approached me about doing a denim spread, a story on me, and then this was at trade show. You know what I'm saying? So this was in Vegas, and my boss at the time had caught wind of it, and he pulled me aside and said, hey, I don't want to hear anything else about this John Phenom stuff. And I was like, what? I was like, bro, I work so hard for you. My heart's on my sleeve. Every season I'm early with whatever designs, whatever CADs. I've never not worked my ass off for you. And he was just like, his answer was crazy. He said, yeah, but I have more resources than you.
You know what, John? That is a situation because how long ago was this?
This was a while ago. But that theme of, I told you off camera, the last brand that I worked with, whereas the brand director, a couple people in the building had a problem that I had the YouTube channel and it was popping off. Yeah.
It's 2 things. To me, in my opinion, it's number one, people don't like you giving, secrets, right? Number 2, people know the power of the internet and people don't like you getting more shine than them. You know what I'm saying? I'm the man in the office. When you on YouTube, you're the man to the world. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't like that, especially in these, in my opinion, in these corporations. They don't like that. Like, how dare you be bigger than me? That's how I see it, man.
Yeah, of course. And I'm with you 100%. You know how much it's just changed so dramatically in terms of the kind of audiences you and I are speaking to is just so diverse now. And it's been such a crazy journey. So there's a lot to speak of there, I feel like.
Absolutely.
So tell me, as your channel has grown and become what it has to many people, right? Because, if you're watching this from his channel, by the way, welcome. And so tell me about, like, for me, I know there's a couple milestones that come off the top of my head, but where were points where you were like, besides the beginning where you're like, wow, people are engaging immediately. Yeah. What are some big milestones that have happened in the channel where you know this is being really effective in helping people?
The milestones, I would say, is that a couple of things. Total strangers know who you are and they thank you for, man, you helped me out so much, man. You know, when I get that, that is the most humbling and the most satisfying feel. And when corporations, that we've all heard about, contact you, or contact, you're about to, from what I understand, you're about to get into the brand deal game too.
Yeah.
Corporations, not you looking, when they come to find you and you see emails and DMs and stuff from these corporations, it's like, wow, little old me. So both of those things are very, that's when I knew I was on to something.
Right. I always tell this story, so I harp on it on my channel a lot, but in 2017, Google over here in LA had invited me to come speak on an influencer panel. So there was a lot of firsts. First of all, I was like, is this a scam? Like, is this for real? Like, the suffix of the email was @Google. And the first time someone had addressed me as a legitimate influencer, that was mind-blowing to me. Chloe Couture was on that panel. She at the time had like 4 million, maybe 4 million subs. Brittany, the fashion doctor, was on there. She's the homie to this day, but a lot of people who had much bigger followings than me. So I was in-house at the time, still working at that last brand, and I was like, wow, man, this is crazy.
John, you really give I give a very much DIY kind of a thing. You really give that industry insider stuff, man. Like, you're like the person inside of the company who's really giving that stuff, man. And I totally see why they would have you on these panels, because you're from the inside, like the real, like the DIYers is one thing, but like the corporations, like in the apparel industry, like you really give that inside information, man, and I appreciate it.
Man, that's a huge honor coming from you. Man, it's so funny. I mean, I really look up to, there's not too many other people, right? And like me and you come from a similar place, so I think along with our peers, there's a huge audience with t-shirts, and that's so smart. They're very forgiving, they're very flexible, and there's a lot of technology. A lot of times I'll add the cut and sew kind of piece to it, which is a good compliment.
What you are, man, is that, like you're the evolution. Most of these companies start out doing t-shirt, but eventually you got to go to hats, you go to cut and sew, you go to jeans. That's how the streetwear or any brand, that's how, they start right here, but as expansion and growth is how a company builds. No one just does t-shirts forever. So the information that you give is how you take it to the, you start watching me, and then when you really want to be serious, you watch this guy right here.
So talking about smart beginnings, because you and I both have hours and hours of contemplating and consulting and teaching over it. Let's bring it back to some value for people who are early in the game. What are some, or one, like whatever you want to share, the biggest revelations of someone starting out with t-shirts? What should they know, or what should they look out for, or not do? What any kind of jewel you want to give?
All right, a couple of things I want to give, right, is that number one, and this is something that I didn't get, right? A t-shirt is not a t-shirt. When I first started, I was using whatever t-shirt was the cheapest, and I was buying crap. I was going to the wholesale district and buying cardboard, thick mock neck, ugly ass t-shirt. Excuse my expression. And I just thought, a t-shirt is and I would say that, man, a t-shirt is a t-shirt. Number one, get a quality blank t-shirt. Start right there. Research, get a quality blank, something soft, right? Don't get something too rough. Don't get something too thick. Get a quality blank. Number two, is, and I get a lot of pushback on this, nobody cares about your logo like you think they do. People come up with these names and they just do a t-shirt and they put their logo on it. Unless your logo says something that core target audience really can identify with, nobody cares. See, they see Polo and Gucci and Sean John and Billionaire Boys Club. These people have literally have celebrities and millions of dollars of marketing pushing that brand. So they're buying the $1 million of marketing. They don't know who you are. So have a t-shirt design reflect your core target audience and then put your name on it. As your brand starts to grow and people like your brand, then you push your name. Stop and push what your brand is about above your name. And a lot of people, I get a lot of pushback on that, but I'm telling you, unless your name is something that really appeals to that core target audience, push design that gears to your audience.
Right.
Over your name.
Right. Oh man, that to me, that's a knowledge bomb. 100%. I love that. That's true, because if you came out, let's just say Nike didn't exist as it is today. If you came out and etched out that logo today, and tomorrow on Instagram you published, I'm starting a company called Nikkei. You know what I'm saying? That's what they would say. Oh, what's Nikkei? Right? No, everyone's gonna be like, what the hell is that? It's like a check mark.
Yeah. Why do you have a check mark on it? Well, it looks like Newport. It looks like the little sign on the Newport.
Yeah.
It's upside down. They're not gonna have any idea what it is. It took them years to build up that brand to the point where people will walk around with Nike everything on it. And they had to make a shoe that appealed to a whole group of people who were running, said, oh, this new shoe, and they had to build from there. And now people want to buy.
Right. So just to expand on that, because I love what you're saying, I just want to expand on that, the way I'm thinking about it. So in maybe a little bit of a more practical term, when someone's saying, well, if I'm not going to put my logo on something, what do I do? And it can be any kind of, this is me talking like a creative director, but any kind of communication, right? Any kind of graphic communication that can speak to the culture, speak to your demographic, right? Because you know what that vibe is, right? So you're bringing any kind of graphics that might invoke the feeling of like, oh, that's what I'm about. And then the logo could be a small hit inside of it. Because what we're doing is we're trying to build so when they continue to see the logo, they're like, oh, that has a feeling for me.
Yes. And also a brand identity. I put this in my book, like you could be you have your logo somewhere on it, right? And what your graphic says something speaks to your core target audience, right? But you're the brand that has, like, on your sleeve, you have pink or green tag, right? So over time, everyone sees the pink or green tag as well as everything else. Pink or a bottom hem that's big or something like that. And over time, people will associate that hem with your brand. It takes time, and you'll be known as, oh, that's the brand with the pink logo, or that's the brand with the, like, for instance, Burberry. Like, people don't even know the Burberry logo. They just know Burberry plaid. You get what I'm saying? So over time, you could be the company that's known for a certain thing, and people will know your trademark, right? As you build up equity in your brand.
Right. So that's funny you mentioned it in your book. I have one of my courses is expanding brand ID, and I talk about a pattern, right? So Burberry you bring up, and then like the quick equivalent to that via classic streetwear for me is the Bape camo, right? Yeah. And then, so very clear example, they put it on Air Force Ones, you put it on the lining of a jacket, you put it on the hat, on the inside of the hat. Like, they just kept branding the hell out of it. And so it was one aspect of their arsenal that they kept pushing.
Yeah, and then over time, when you see that camo, you don't even have to see any Bape anything. It's like, oh, that's Bape. You know what I'm saying?
And another thing that people should note is, like Burberry, people aren't looking at the price, right? Nigo was very strategic and of branding it with an emotion and a feeling that, like, it's like Supreme, right? They just like, oh, I want to buy it. Oh, they put it on Air Force Ones. I don't care. $300, I'm in it.
Yeah.
So interesting case study there as well for that.
These people, man, people buy if you for them first, then they buy into the brand, right?
Yes.
after they bought into the brand, you could sell them anything. You understand what I'm saying? You could sell them anything.
Right. Yo, this is crazy. It's like we're working together in tandem and describing it to the audience, because while you're saying that, I'm also, to me, when you're talking about building the brand long term, in my mind, one thing that I tell people when I'm consulting is it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Yeah. So one thing, oh gosh, we could probably even do a whole podcast on this. I used to consult with brands that would talk about dropping a fashion show, right? Mm-hmm. And they would say, hey, we're ready to drop, I don't know, let's just say 15 grand on a fashion show. And I'm like, wait a minute, I hope that's only a portion of your budget, because you have something notable going on every single month of the year. Because when I have people say, what are we doing for marketing? I'm like, hey, you need to look at 12 months of the year. And you could put a couple together, but you should have something that you're vlogging about, posting about, wrapping content around every single month of the year. And so it's not a sprint, it's a marathon where you have spread out the budget to say, oh, we're gonna do a collab with this person, we're gonna be part of this museum installation, we're gonna be part of this and that, because it's going to be over time where people say, oh, this is what BAPE is about, or this is whatever your brand is about, hopefully, right? It's a marathon. Big shout out to Nipsey, rest in peace. But it's a marathon, right? It's a long-term, drawn-out thing to achieve brand status.
Yeah, and also it's about that core target audience, right? For instance, your audience, fashion shows are great. Maybe your audience really is not into fashion shows like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But maybe, or if you're going to do a fashion show, maybe you could do a different kind of fashion show. You know, it's about whoever your line is for. As I talk all the time, that core target audience is crazy, and you should know your core target audience like you know yourself. You know what I'm saying? And from there, because you can speak to that person and that whoever they are, you can speak to them if you truly understand who they are. Same thing with like a skateboard brand. Like, I'm not a skateboarder, so it would be so whack if I did a skateboarder brand. But if a skateboarder did a skateboarder brand, like, they could put things in that thing that I would have absolutely no idea. You understand? So it's about connecting to something that you know, or hiring somebody.
Yeah.
Who really can understand that core target audience. So it's like, get somebody who understands it. You'll be so much better.
Yo, I want to say, I told you this when I met you in person, dude. Your channel was a huge reference. I was telling people on my channel to go to your channel, and still all the golden information. So number one, I want to say thank you. And I know this is the beginning of much more content that you and I will do together now and in the future.
I want to do this again. I could use this, but I want to have another one where I interview you over on my channel, because we talked about some really cool, very interesting stuff about this industry. I think that the world needs to hear it. So I'm looking forward to hopefully doing a lot more stuff with you, because there's a certain thing that we bring from having that certain background that is different than the guys who are just not better, just different from the guys who are starting at home in the garage, in the attic, and just starting a company. We got that, that corporate background that I think really can.
We've definitely done our hours in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? And this is early, but we're bringing the West Coast, East Coast together on it.
And also, man, I would love to talk about at some point. I would love to hit people up and talk about, like, tech packs, right? Oh, yeah. And CADing, and the amount of man hours it takes to run a line. I can't speak for what was going on out in LA, but right here, typical, if you're in the industry, you're doing 10,
most of it,
15-hour days on a regular basis. You understand what I'm saying? And that's not being a boss. That's just being an employee, especially if you're in design. Yo, it's a lot of work, man. And a lot of people don't really know what goes into it, man.
Yeah, I can't wait, because most of the time it gets brought up in an interview or podcast or whatever. I'm introducing people to the idea of it. But since you and I have literally paid our dues inside of like art departments, yeah, bro, we could talk about layers and staying on the vectors, jumping on the Photoshop just to make the swatch, to bring it in, to make it look realistic, all of that.
All that, from the strike offs to first sample, second sample. A lot of people, they don't know the struggle, man. They don't know the struggle. And I think that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good thing, because I think that because they work our asses off, man.
Yep. And it's interesting now also, just because the format of the companies that are kind of popping that would have been considered streetwear or maybe urban young men's, it's so different from the days that we knew. But there is a lot of value in what you and I know for the new companies that are starting to bubble and start to do like their early millions. There's a lot of a process that you and I know that can actually help.
For sure, man. Thank you so much, man. Looking forward to some more content, man. This has been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So all of his links are going to be down below, guys. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.